to start. We'll talk about code or whatever we'll talk about today. It's about to start, so please hang tight while I check that everything is okay. Sound check, camera check, lights check. How's my hair? Oh, wait, I don't have any hair. Maybe put some pants on and I am good to go. So get ready wherever you are, 'cause this stream is about to start. Get ready wherever you are, 'cause this stream is about to start. Hi, I'm Leandro Facchinetti, and let's write some code together, shall we? What we have on the menu today is the first effect that we are going to finish using our new library to develop real-time audio effects for Reaper. We have been developing this library, all sorts of fun little functions here and there, not really anything directed. We were just like having fun with stuff. But now it's time to get something out the door before the year ends. And the first effect that we are going to develop is just a simple volume effect. It's kind of an utility plugin, but I do have some things that I want to do that are slightly different than you would find in your good old volume utility, as we are going to see today. So first of all, let's review what we need for the volume to work, which is this follower idea. And the way that I'm implementing the follower is like a skew limiter. And the purpose of the follower is to prevent volume changes from happening too fast, which results in clicks. More about this, if you're interested, just go watch this stream yesterday. But we do have that limiter, that follower function. So we do have this value that is like the slider that has your volume selection, but sorry, that's the target. So the target is the slider, which is your volume selection, but the follower is the value that you are actually going to use to attenuate or boost the gain by. So this follower value is following, trying to catch the target, but it's lagging behind because it can only move so fast. And there is something that I want to fix about this. Not really fix, it's not wrong, but it's silly. So you can see that there are tests here for the follower and they are passing. And the silly thing that I'm doing is the way that I'm implementing this is just all over the place. What I really want to do is this. There is this change. I don't need a variable for that. I don't need any local variables for this, I don't think. Hang on, I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I don't need any local variables. There is this change and I can just get the change. And I want to limit this change. So that's this change limited, but I don't need to do this in 2 steps. I can just add just like this. So let's review what's going on. We have our follower, the value that is lagging behind. And then we have the difference between the target and the follower. So if you just have it like this and forget about this part, this plus follower and this minus follower cancel out. And we end up with the follower getting to the target immediately. But that's not what we want. We want to limit this change, this skew factor. We want to limit this. So why don't we just put a limiter here? A limiter can work like this. We just need a minimum and maximum functions. And then I limit by the maximum change. In fact, I think we have implemented that already somewhere. I'm pretty sure I did a video about this way back. Let's go to my REAPER repository, and I'm sure that it will be here somewhere. Yeah, this guy. So yeah, that's how it works. To clip a signal, to not let a signal go above or below a certain limit, all you gotta do is just put a minimum and a maximum, just like this. It's gonna be one of those days. Okay, so just want to limit the amount of change. And I need to be smart about the signs here. So this number, let's say that the target is 0.7 and the follower is a little bit below. But the maximum allowed change is this. So we would like to add 0.2, but we can't. We need to have 0.1 as the maximum. So that is all right. This minimum is going to get us the minimum between 0.2 and 0.1, which is 0.1. That's correct. But what if it's the other way around? Then the target is at 0.7 and the follower is at the target is at 0.5 and the follower is at 0.7. So we would like to... Okay. Yeah, OBS tells me that you just missed the last 10 seconds or something. So in effect, what I'm doing is working out through the signs here, but I think I did it. So if I have a target of 0.5, that's where I want to be. The follower is lagging behind, it's at 0.7. I would like to add minus 0.2, but the maximum change is 0.1. So if I have here the maximum change negated, which is minus 0.1, the maximum between minus 0.2 and minus 0.1 is minus 0.1, so I limited that movement. So I think that this is going to make all the tests continue passing. And the follower tests are still passing. Great. So I just implemented the same thing in a different way, but I would argue that the way on the right makes a lot more sense. It's a lot clearer what's going on. So yeah, it was just me writing code live yesterday and I wrote this and it worked, but it wasn't great. So I think this is better. Now that we have this, let's get into the volume effect. And I will play around with all the sliders that I want to have for this effect. So in some cases, I guess in most cases, a slider from minus 10 to 10 makes sense. Let's put here the Lee effect volume, this one. So going from minus 10 to 10 is a good overall gain adjustment, kind of an utility thing that you would put somewhere on the track. That's great, but I want to have more ways to use this volume effect. So let's have a slider that will be the first one, and it will be the mode. And I think it's going to start at 1. You'll see why in a moment, and I don't really know the limit, but I do know the steps. And then I know that I want it to be a drop-down menu kind of thing. So let's think about the ranges that we want to have. Or maybe I could call this range. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So going from minus 10 dB to 10 dB in steps of 0.01 dB from to step. Yeah, okay, let's see what this looks like. Okay, doesn't really work. Well, I guess it does because we were by default in the second option. So I think I want some columns in there. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right, I like that. But that's not the only kind that I want to have. So, and you can see that I skipped number 2, and that's because I want this little space here. Oh, and Bo is here. Hi, Bo. It's going well. I had to stop or pause the stream for a little while to, well, allergies, because of allergies. But then I had to stop or pause this stream because the internet went down for a little while. But now everything is all right, and we are doing the slider. Looking forward to actually publishing an effect. So yeah, this is going to be slider 4 because I do want to have another option that is even more constrained, because sometimes you want to do very fine adjustments. So I guess I would do from -5 to 5 in steps of 0.01. That is still all right. You know what? What is the point for this one? Doesn't really have a point. Yeah, I'll have the first one as this range. So that is going to be range number 0, just like this. And then let's have another one. How about we have another one that goes from 30 in steps of 0.1. You rewatched my first video on the Bit Crusher. How was that? I haven't really watched that in an year, but at this point. But I think I did a good job of explaining how to get into the development environment and how to read things. And the algorithm I explained wrong. I had to fix that later in a second video, but. All right, so now we have this selection. Now, let me explain at a high level what I'm attempting here. I want to control the range of this slider, but that's not possible. There is no way in JSFX for me to tell I want the values of this slider. By the way, cool thing, huh? I forgot to rename this. Both of them are the same name. So now that I change one, the other changes as well. Isn't that neat? I didn't know that was a thing. Probably an edge case, it's not too useful anyway. So what I want is to have a range for the sliders, and that's not possible. The range is fixed here. So what I'm going to do is hack my way into the thing that I want. I'm going to have several of these sliders, and I will have this range selection, and I am going to hide and show the sliders, and that's why I wanted to do this on the stream, because it's going to be interesting. I'm going to explore this feature that I haven't really explored in the stream. I sort of explained at a high level what I did in another plugin, but I didn't explain, or I didn't do it live. So today we're going to work with showing and hiding sliders, and I'm going to show and hide the slider selectively so that it feels like you have control over the range. That's what this is going to be about. And Bo says, it was a great tutorial on JSFX. You should release that on its own and make a new one. Now that you know more of it. Yeah, My point is, it's the greatest tutorial on JSFX out there, and it's hidden in a bit crusher video. True, yeah, that is true. And I don't do a good job of marketing, right? Okay, so the truth of the matter here is that this variable depends on the slider. So I am going to have some code here to actually find what is the correct slider for this. So this is going to be, I guess, range 1, something like this. And then I have to check what is my range mode, I guess. If I am in mode 0, then I want the value from this. But if I am in range 1, then I want the value from that. Well, I might as well just rename this like this, right? And now they are different names, so they are not going to move together. And this is what actually affects the rest here. So I think that this is going to work. Okay, let's see. All right, and to see if this is working, I have to feed some noise through this. Oh. But if I do that, you all are going to listen and you're going to hear that noise. Now you won't. Okay, so I'm feeding some noise through this. And then I guess we can just look at the meter. So right now it's in this range. So this is active. Great. And this is not active. But if I change to this one, then this is active and the other one is not. So now we have all the logic here to make the ranges work. It's just a matter of showing and hiding. In the demonstration effect, I do have some slider show situation just to remember how it works. Okay, I remember. So what we have to do is, and by the way, thanks for watching my stuff, Bo, even stuff from 1 year ago, and thanks for all the nice words about it. I'm glad that you liked it. And yeah, I guess one of the goals of the next year is to market better and get this content out to more people and maybe package it in a nicer way. But yeah, so far this whole year has been about exploring JSFX. I'm still learning, and exploring the idea of streaming and all of that. I mean, I think I finally, after months of tweaking, I think I'm happy with the way it sounds, for instance, and the way it looks too, with the green screen and everything. I think it worked nice. So this whole year has been just about exploring things. Now I think I am at a point where I can share this with more people, if you know what I mean. So it's just slider show, and then I need to give the name of the slider. And I only want to show this slider in the condition that the range... Oh, I guess I should call this probably volume range, since as everything else has that prefix volume. And of course, this is a volume plugin, so everything is about volume, but maybe I'll rename this later. All right, so if the range is equal to 0, then I want to show this. And the same for the other one. And now we see a slider that goes from 0 to -10. And then we see another slider that goes from 0 to 30. And it sort of looks like I'm able to control the range of this slider, which is not true. Oh, you know what I'm just realizing? Maybe that idea that the different sliders were sort of links if they had the same name, it can be kind of cool, because if I am on this range and I realize, oh, I actually don't want -10, I want -15. Then I go to the next range. Well, I happen to be on -15 by chance, but if I go to the other range, it will be just anywhere. It could be nice if it was at the same place. So let's commit what I have, and I'm going to start changing this. I guess all of them are going to be just slider volume in dB. Am I right? Then I don't even need this logic. That's sort of cool. And naturally but then I don't have control over which slider is changing. I don't have control. I don't have a way to show or hide the different sliders, do I? Because they have the same name. Let's see if this works. No. The sliders are linked, but they don't show and hide. And I believe this is because I named the slider. So once you name the slider, that don't have access, at least from the perspective of slider show, you don't have access to the name like this. I guess I can do this with a mask. So if I do something like this, I think this is how you address that slider. No, let's play around with this. Well, first of all, is this true or false? Well, I guess I will have a new line for this. Let's explore this with a line like this, and I want to hide it. Yeah, okay, that works. Yeah, it's not gonna be the best looking code, but it works. So what did I have? That, okay. No, I think it's actually one off. So I think it goes like this. Cool, huh? Okay, this is like a cute exercise in controlling the range, but it will get better, I promise. But I do want to have one more range. I want to go from -100 to 100. And I say that this is kind of silly because in JSFX, you can just type anything in here. So you can just do this and it will respect that value. Oh, you know what I'm realizing? There is sort of a logic to what's happening here. So let's loop over 3 times. And no, I'm just going to let this be copy and paste. That's fine. Okay, so now we have one more range. Oh, I forgot to add that to here. Let's go from -100 to 100, and this is already something that I think is useful. I mean, no other volume effect has this sort of feature. So cool stuff. Now it clips, yeah, okay. Now this is kind of cool. It's just a neat little trick. Maybe it's just an exercise in how to control the range of a slider, but it will get better. Let's see. Bo is saying, simple, make a new edit of that one and post it on the REAPER forum. And you're welcome. Thanks for sharing your coding knowledge and helping out. Sure, yeah. I posted it in the forum way back, and that's the thing. I started promoting and marketing by posting to the REAPER forum, to Reddit, even to Hacker News, because this is writing code after all. But I feel like it's not maybe the best way of going about this. People who are there don't necessarily appreciate self-promotion, so I stopped doing that. I don't promote in these channels anymore. I did it reluctantly this Monday because we scheduled the stream and I was waiting for Arya to answer if he was going to be available or not, and everything was sort of last minute, so I posted it in two places in the REAPER script forum, not forum, the chat, and the JSFX, the REAPER Professional Slack. Yes, that one, the REAPER Professional Slack. And there is also a Discord channel of people who write JSFX, and I post it there as well. But usually I try to avoid self-promotion. And I also thought about, like, maybe what if I buy promotional spots? But then it's like, really? Do I really want to do that? Probably not. Okay, so I think that this is good in terms of the ranges, the fixed ranges, but I also want to have a custom option, and that's where it gets interesting. So I guess the range is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 options, or I guess 0, 1, 2, 3 options. And this number is not respected, so it doesn't really matter, but I'm setting it the right way. So this is the custom option. And what is this about? Well, the idea is that I want to have a way to select this range myself so that I can assign a slider to a Midi pedal and I can use this as a volume pedal. That's what this is about. So if we are in this custom option, then all the sliders should go away. That's my intent. Let's see. First of all, there are 2 of them showing up, and that's incorrect. That was just probably a leftover from full compile resetting this, but I do want to make sure, so let's see. Yeah, okay. Okay, so far so good, and they are linked. Oh, very nice. But let's go to custom, and then all the sliders go away. So let's do the custom one. Range custom. Yeah. Slider volume range custom. Let's say from. And then I always like to start at 0, but maybe for this one it doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's a range. So let's say that it goes from by default, this range is going to start at, let's say, -20. But you can go down to -120 if you want to go to complete silence. Maybe that could be a good default. And maybe you do want to go up to 120. I'll just let you do that. And I will give you steps of 1 dB. I think that's good enough. From to and then volume dB, assign this to Midi. How about that? I think that's okay. And this value is going to start at 0, and it is going to go from 0 to 1 in very small increments. Okay. So let's show and hide these sliders accordingly. Oh, and this should be something like volume. In dB. No, not in dB. It's not in dB. So the from should only be available if my range is equal to 3. And the same for the 2, and the volume. Let's check this. They're not showing up. Oh, the window was too small. That can be annoying. Oh, and I guess I want the default for this one to be 0. Oh, and I guess I want the default for this to be 0.5. No, maybe 1, right? So it goes from 120 up to 0, and by default it will be at 0 in DB. Okay, let's catch up with what you all are saying. The forums are a mix of people who know rather little about coding. You know about coding, you have written some effects, so don't talk like that. And then the ones who are very knowledgeable, true. There's a couple of threads asking for tutorials in JSFX, maybe add to those posts. True, yeah. The cool thing would be to have you on Reaper's start page with John and Kenny. I don't think so. I don't think that... I don't think we deserve that kind of attention or even want that kind of attention right now. I mean, they are doing this for what, like 5-10 years, something like that? Maybe in 2030, we'll see. Okay, so the sliders are showing, and I'm going to do a full compile reset. Okay, this looks nice. And then yeah, now I have to make this actually control the volume. So let me unmute this so I can see that the effect is doing something. And right now it isn't, right? It's just a number between 0 and 1. I'm not doing anything with that. But if my range is equal to 3, then my dB is equal to... Oh, at this point, I think I need an auxiliary variable. Not a variable, an auxiliary function. Let's find where we have the follower. Isn't that neat? Single line. Love that. But we need something that I'm going to call a map. And the map is going to receive a value, and I want this to mimic what they have in processing map. This. Wow, they changed their website. It's looking great. Amazing. Did they change the P5? No, it's still, that one is still the same. But this is looking great. How do they call the parameters for this? Value start, stop, start, stop. Okay. I'm gonna call this from and to. I'm gonna call this a lower bound from, or maybe from lower bound, from upper bound, not lower bound and upper bound, minimum and maximum, minimum and maximum, and to minimum and to maximum. The intent is that we are going to map a value that lives in this range into a value that lives in this range. How do we do that? Well, we take the value and we divide by the difference between these two. This gives me a number between As long as the minimum is less than the maximum, which I think it should be, this is going to give me a number between 0 and 1. Is that right? No, it's not. I have to subtract from the... I have to subtract the minimum here as well. Now this is right. And then I multiply by the difference between these two guys. And then finally I add this. Okay, let's see if this makes sense and work through the logic here. Let's say that our value is, for instance, 0.5. And it lives in a range that goes from -1 to 1. And we want to take this to a range that goes from 20 to 40 or something like that. So 0.5 is 3/4 of the way into this range. And I want it to be 3/4 of the way into this range. Wouldn't it be easier if this was 60, because then the right answer is 50? So the answer should be 50. And you can see where I'm going with this, right? I have a value that is in the range of 0 to 1, and I want to map this into the range of into the range that goes from here to there. And maybe I'll call this minimum and maximum as well. Yep, I'll do a global replacement of all the froms, but I want to keep capitalization. So minimum oh, I'm doing this the silly way. Minimum replace. Let's do it the smart way. 2 and then 2, and I don't necessarily match by case. Oh, but 2 is not a word that appears just here, but I can limit for full words. Okay. And this is going to be the maximum, and I want the capitalization to be preserved. But then I have to fix this. I think I got it. So this is the minimum and maximum, blah, blah, blah. Custom minimum, custom maximum, volume in dB, minimum, maximum. Yeah, everything in here seems all right. So what my intent is that I'm going to map this value that it lives in the range of 0 to 1 into this range. Let's work out through the formula here to see if that is working. So my intent here with this is to bring the value to 0. So that instead of starting at minimum, it's going to start at 0. So value minus from minimum what is 0.5 minus 1? This becomes a plus, and this becomes 1.5. Then, what is the difference between the maximum and the minimum? That's the range. That's the length of this range, the size of this range. That's 2, right? It's 1 minus 1. That's 2. And how much is 1.5 divided by 2? That is 0.75. So indeed, now at this point, this is a number between 0 and 1. And this is 3/4 of the way between 0 and 1. So that much is working. Then we multiply by this range. So this is, it's a range of 40 values. So we are going to multiply 3/4 of the way into 40. The maximum minus the minimum is 40. And we are going to end up with, how much is 40 times 0.75? It's 30. So we have 30 so far, and then we add the minimum, and that's shifting into the right space of the range. And that's 20, so 20 plus 30 is 50. We got this. So that's the mapping function. Let's write some tests for the mapping function over here in the demonstration effect, right next to the follower. For instance, if I have a value that is 0.5 in the range between -1 and 1, and I want to map into the range of 20 to 60, the result should be 50. And then map is passing. Great. So now that we have this auxiliary function, I can just go ahead and use it here to map this, which is a value living in this range. Oh, no, it's a value living in this range from 0 to 1. And I want to map it into this range. Great, now let's see if this works. Full compile reset, reload, custom. And this is affecting the gain. So let's make this precise to test if we got this. Let's make it -10. So here we are around 12, and we should get to around -22. And we do. So I can assign this to a Midi pedal. I wonder if they have an implementation of this that I can look at to see if we got the formula the same way that they have the formula. Is there a link to the source for this? Processing, GitHub. And this, probably under core, source or methods. Let's try source. Processing, it's probably going to be in core. Or maybe I can do a search for map. Shouldn't be too hard to find this. Oh, map is a word that means something in Java. There are going to be many occurrences of this. I really wish there was a link to like the source. That would make things a lot easier. Whatever. Oh, maybe if I search for math. P vector, lang math, mac. I mean, it is a library that is concerned with drawing stuff on the screen, so no wonder it's going to have a lot of references to math in there. Maybe if I search for math.map. No. Processing, math, map, source. Let's see what they have. It's not the same, but it's similar. Oh, that is an old link. Oh, it's actually sort of the same. It's just ordered differently. Yeah, right. I'm happy that I got this live without having to resort to the answer, and that I got the same answer as they have. At least in some random forum from like years ago. Whatever. So This is already working. I want to play around with this. Such a silly thing, but I do want to play around with this. So instead of having noise, let's have input number 4. Input number 4 is the guitar. I realized that the master is muted, but let's unmute it. Yeah, I can barely hear this, but it's fine. So let's see. I always want to have a tuner. And this tuner has a really cool feature. Check this out. It shows all the strings at once. That's really cool, but I don't need it now. And then I am going to have my... What am I going to have now? I think I need a sort of a compressor. Let's go with recomp. Around here, let's give this some ratio. I sort of want this to be very squashed, so yeah, this is squashing all right. Then let's have a sort of an amp emulator. Can barely hear this, so I'll put a limiter at the end. And this limiter is going to be at -1. I'm going to use this as just a utility kind of thing. Oh, not -20, just +20. Great. And I have a preset that sort of is relatively clean. And then I don't want a reverb on this one. Great. So this one is just kind of an utility to get us to the right level, but let me drop another one after this. But before some delay, let's put a delay. And one-eighth note. And can I have a little bit of feedback? Or you know what? Well, you know what could be fun? If we put supermassive here. And then we have the custom range going from silence up to unity, and we touch this parameter and we come here to learn, and I play my pedal that I did with Arduino in the stream a while back. And then this does that. Ah, cool. Probably this is too much in terms of range. Cool stuff. Let's get something bigger. Hold a chord. Okay, I will. Aha. It actually works. Great. Know what's something interesting? Oh, this is no longer the case. This plugin is kind of cool and everything, but it does prevent Midi from going through. And yeah, if I was playing around with this before, and if I, instead of recording, let me have another track so I can explain this. And that's going to explain why I turned this off earlier. I bypassed that one. So if I have this and then a Midi logger, and I enable this for recording Midi from all inputs, if this is bypassed, the signal goes through. If it's not bypassed, it consumes the Midi signal, which doesn't really make sense because this is not a synth or anything. It's not using the Midi for anything, but it does consume that. But I was thinking, oh, if this is the case, then I need to bypass this for this to work. But that's not the case because I actually am not reading the Midi. I had to assign this to a parameter, which is different. So maybe I could just by default, that it could be a nice usability kind of thing. I could by default just listen for the mod wheel, for instance. Yeah. And then if you are gonna do this trick to assign to Midi, you don't even have to go here to param or anything. It's just gonna be there. Of course you can if you don't want it to be the mod wheel. You can assign it to a different value if you want, but if you don't, then it's just right there. Or maybe it could be, instead of the mod wheel, it could be literally the volume. There is an expression Midi message. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. Okay, let's play around with this some more and then we'll wrap it up. And I will not be streaming tomorrow. It's Christmas Eve, but then I will see you on Monday. So yeah, a final jam with our new plugin. And there's still more I want to do with this, right? Still want to have the waveforms. So to do, listen for the mod wheel. And by the way, did you know this? It doesn't, Reaper doesn't really care if you write any kind of junk before the actual sections of code. You don't have to comment this out in any way. If it knows how to deal with it, it deals with it, but otherwise it just ignores it. Draw waveforms, draw gain over time or volume over time. And I think that this is going to be the best volume plugin that anyone has ever seen. All right, okay, I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this later. It's just a simple volume pattern, but it is one that we developed ourselves. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas, otherwise, Happy Holidays, and if you don't celebrate any holidays, just enjoy the rest of your week. And I see you back on Monday, and we will be finishing this off. The drawing of the waveforms and even the drawing of the volume over time is relatively straightforward because we have already components for that. We just have to use them. Then to actually read the Midi, that's going to be interesting because we have not worked with Midi so far. So that's what's up on Monday. Goodbye.